Good evening, Quintus Curtius, back here at the podcast, and it's been a few weeks, and I wanted to do this podcast to answer a recent emailed question I got from a reader in England, and he's got an interesting question about a relationship issue that he has, and he's basically not sure if his current girlfriend is the right one for a long-term commitment. So let's read his email here and then make some comments on it. All right. He starts out by saying, nice comments. I stumbled across your Twitter over 2 years ago, and I have learned a lot from you. Admittedly, I've only purchased one of your books, Digest, and I'm halfway through it and enjoying it very much. Blah, 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 blah. I have a question that's been troubling me somewhat, and I couldn't think of anyone else whose opinion I'd like to hear more on it than yours. A quick word about me. I'm British, 21 years old, and in my third year of university studying physics and philosophy. I plan on doing a master's in philosophy next year. My respect for you increased after finding out you had served as a Marine Corps officer. Blah, 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 blah. I wish to do something similar, wanting to pursue a commission in either Army Intelligence or some other infantry regiment. I discovered the Stoic School about 4 years ago and am deeply moved by those whom I consider, which I consider holy texts. Blah, 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 blah. Oftentimes it's your off the top words on Twitter that remind me of who I am. I'm glad to hear that. At least someone's getting some enjoyment out of that. All right, time for the question, he says. I've been in a committed relationship for a little over 6 months now. I love her, but we're not alike at all. Okay. I'd always imagined the woman that I'd settle down with to be full of life, as that's what I am. I want to assert myself in this world and bring about change. She's what you consider a pessimist, and not this weird, trendy type that the youth of today call cool, but an actual one. Had I lived the life she has, I'd undoubtedly be a lot worse. The topic of marriage and kids has already been brought up. I've always wanted children of my own, and I'm positive I will have some. I'm committed to not making the same mistakes my parents made with me. She, on the other hand, just isn't for, quote unquote, children. She's more or less an antinatalist. We differ in other respects, too. Politically, our personalities themselves, our ideals. She doesn't have one. We're pretty much diametrically opposed in all respects, apart from one. She likes philosophy too, and not the horse shit that gets pushed around in the universities, but what you and I would consider the actual kind. The question is this. What should I do? I won't bore you with her praises. In every other respect, she's what I want, but not in the areas I consider most important. She's not the draining type of pessimist. She almost puts a facade on while she's with me, which is a lot of the time. She makes me happy, and I really want to make her happy too. I hope that one day I'll be able to make her truly happy, but in the back of my mind, I can't help but have doubts, hence this email to you. What if this hope of mine never comes to fruition? What if I'm tying myself up, settling in some respects, when someone better might be out there? I'd like to know what advice you could give, blah, 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 blah. Any words would be greatly appreciated. All right. So, this is one of those emails where you read through it and the gentleman, and this is a young guy, he's a British kid, only 21 years old. And as you read through this, you can almost sense that he's answering his own question in many ways. And of course, in getting a question like this, there's always the chance that you could misread the situation because it's difficult sometimes to interpret people's motivations and impulses and where they're coming from just by an email. Obviously, it's always better to be able to see someone, even to be able to see them, lay eyes on them. But we have to do the best we can in these types of situations. But I'll tell you what, there's some real warning signs here that just leap out at you as you read it. Okay? And I'm going to go through them here one by one. Now, first of all, if you're 21 years old and in school still, and you want to embark on a military career of some sort, or at least military service, the last thing you want to do, in my view, right now is get married or have a long-term relationship. In my view, those things don't last. I don't think a man should consider settling down, getting married, having a family until he's, well, well, I guess it depends on the person, obviously. But in my view, I don't think the 20s are a time to do that. I think that's for a man. I think the 30s is a better time. I think by that time you've acquired some of the seasoning and some of the maturity and the stability financially to be able to support a family. I just don't think the 20s are a good time to do that. Now, again, people may differ. There are always exceptions, but I'm giving you my opinion. I would not say the same for women. I think women, if they're going to have children, they should have them in their 20s. They should have them younger, because I think that's when they're in their physical prime. But in any case, what really jumps out at me, though, in this email is this girl that he's talking about, because he's basically telling me repeatedly that she's a pessimist, she's an antinatalist. And again, of course, there's always the chance that, this is a young girl who's intelligent and is just exploring ideas, and, she doesn't really mean what she says. Because a lot of girls, well, a lot of people in general, they adopt ideas when they're very young that they don't really understand, they don't grasp, they haven't thought through. And so sometimes it's difficult to put too much stock in the views and opinions of really young people, because they're still in their formative stages. They haven't really arrived at a coherent philosophy of life yet. And that's okay. They should be experimenting with different ideas. But when you tell me a girl is an antinatalist, she doesn't like kids, doesn't want kids, I don't know. In my view, that's a problem. That's a problem, because I just don't think that is the sign of a healthy mindset for a young girl. I think there's nothing wrong with being uncertain or being unsure, but being so pessimistic that you just don't want to have children in your life and you're a woman. That's a warning sign to me. To me, that's a warning sign. And again, there's always that chance that this guy is overplaying this or overemphasizing this, and maybe I'm misreading the situation, but I can only go by what I see in front of me. And from what I'm reading here, this is a bad sign. This is a bad sign. And then there's the overall tone of the email, which is basically questioning, what am I doing the right thing? What should I do? If you're having to ask those questions, man, at this stage of the game, you've already answered the questions. The answer is no. You don't love this girl. You don't love this girl. What you're really doing is you're contacting me for permission to break it off. You already know what you need to do. And that's okay. That's what a lot of times people seek advice for. They already know what they want to do. They've already made up their mind, or they know the warning signs are out there. The warning signs are flashing in neon red in their faces, but they just need a little bit of reinforcement, a little bit of camaraderie. They need a little bit of reassurance that they're doing the right thing, and that's fine. Based on what you're telling me, I think you are doing the right thing. I think this is not the one for you, for the reasons that I just said. Two big reasons. Number one, you're too damn young, and you've got too much going on in your life here in the immediate future with getting out of college and joining the military. And finally, this girl sounds like she's a friend. It sounds like, from what you're telling me, the only thing you guys have in common is you like philosophy. And guess what, dude? That is not enough. It is not enough. All right? You've said in your email that she's pretty much diametrically opposed in all respects, apart from one, which is philosophy. Well, man, that's a friend. That's someone you have a chat with at a lounge with a cup of coffee at best. At best. It's not somebody you want to pursue seriously or settle down with. So anyway, move on. This isn't the one, and that's okay. You're still at the age where you need to explore the world widely and in depth. So those are my answers. So have a good weekend. Keep the morale up. We'll talk soon. And we will go from there. All right, out.